Hi everybody, Dhaman Mehta here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. So let's just dive into these stories, starting with A Jaunt Through Time by lecturience. This is a Harry Potter time travel fic where Harry accidentally goes back in time and basically just doesn't give a shit and just fixes stuff and just like, I'm gonna do this and like save the day, do this, and it's like, I don't really care, solve a problem, whatever, everything's done. Um, it's good for a few laughs and uh, it's quick in and out, but there's no big jokes or anything that I feel like is worth revisiting and worth like coming back to and reading again and again. So I'd say, in my opinion, this is just a quick like fun little give it a look, get a quick laugh, and then don't think about this again, and it's gonna fall off my list. Moving on to something that's not short, we have MLP Loops by Saphroneth. So this is if you remember way back in like my early videos, I spoke about I had a bunch of stories by this guy called Immortal, and he did like the Evangelion loops. I think there was Bleach, Naruto, and a bunch of others. And he had this basically they were all wrapped around this concept of, hey, the universes are rebooting or something's happening. They're causing people to be stuck in a loop, and they can't do anything to solve it. They're just living through it. It's gonna happen. Nothing they do can change anything. So they're just living through their lives, and we each it's just collections of snippets of like different times they were booted, what random things they did to stave off boredom and keep themselves like going and stuff like that. So this one is not written by Nordal, but very much inspired by and taking place in their like collective universe, where we see like cameos from the other original loopers and stuff like that. And that concept has been spread out to further things, where like I've seen uh, in other places where I've seen like the Kingdom Hearts loops and things like that, and like the Cartoon Network loops. This one's focused on My Little Pony, um, and this is not Saphroneth is not the only author here. This story is each chapter is like collections of snippets from the other place. The main place I believe is a forum on space battles. So if you want to check out the original threads that are still active to this day, go check it out on space battles. But yeah, these are just collections of things that like this has no point in sounding. It's like this thing was just updated last month, and the update before that was like 2 years ago. But that's just on fan fiction. Like the discussion on space battles has been going for years. So like, let's go into what it actually is. Like, so it's again, like I said, similar to the all the other ones, where it's just each snippet is just, hey, this is one timeline that they're doing stuff. This is another timeline. I will say, because there's so many other people. Obviously, this has so many more snippets and has gone on because it's not just one person writing it. This is a collective. And also, what because this has been going on for so long, even though they're still stuck in the loops, actual new relationship developments and dynamics and stuff happen, and like there are like sprinklings of actual growth happening as characters, and a bunch of these snippets like also happen where like they storylines get people come back to the storylines and continue it, and so we could see, instead of just seeing one brief moment of an interesting world, we'll see extended things. Like one of my favorite snippet collections in this thing is like a mini story called Turning the Tables, which is basically a thing of how like Twilight calls like basically goes to get back at Celestia for her benevolent, like all knowing act, and like poke her nose at it. And that takes place over the course of like 10 or 13 snippets that were spread between like I think the first one's in like chapter 5 of this fan fiction story, and the last one's like chapter 83 or something. Like these collections go on for huge amounts of time. There's so much interesting here. Another thing, because this is again so running, is so many new loopers or new characters get drawn in eventually, and they become loopers as well. And we see them grow separately, even though they're not there as often. I think this is really, really interesting, and if you like My Little Pony at all, I think you'll get a kick out of this. Um, I found it to be just super entertaining, and just there's so much of it. So I think if you like that, and also if you like the loop concept, you'll like this and others that are available. But I love this a lot. It's going to stay on my list. Number 3 is Rip, but it's Wrought-Iron Cross. The Rip is because it's this is a dead fic, called written by bubbajack, and this is a Fate Stay Night crossover with Campion, where Archer Emiya succeeds in killing Shiro, and the paradox sends him into the body of a recently deceased Kusanagi Godo. And it's okay. This story finishes. The author finished like one arc of it where he basically, basically the introductory arc where he sets himself up and then has his first big encounter. And then the author ended it and he decided to rewrite it, which that never really happened. The writing was just kind of pretty banal to me. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but then I also forgot about it the next day. I would say give it a look and enjoy it for a bit, but there's no reason to come back for a second read. And yeah, it's just gonna fall off my list. Next is Harry's Unbirthday Gift by Ailey Kett. And this is a short 3-shot where basically Luna, and through some old family debt with the Patils, gets does something and gets turned into Harry's slave, and that and then stuff happens. It's basically it's the story of one small change leads to a shattering of the status quo of Wizarding Britain. The tone of the story is pretty dry, as most of these stories where one event solves all the problems and Harry ends up happy. But the story is also longer than most of those things like that. A lot of those stories in that vein are usually one shots that are under 10k words in length, and this is almost 40k. And because of its length, it allows for the scenes where Harry and the girls actually can form the relationship and grow, that the shorter fics will skip just for expediency and time. So you actually see the relationship grow, and it feels real and not just something that's happening as a byproduct of, oh, this happened, so relationship that. And while the ending is pretty abrupt in comparison to longer stories or fuller stories, in its own genre of story, this is probably one of the top of its genre, and I would gladly come back to this and revisit it, and it's going to stay on my list. Moving on now is The Wrong End of the Stick by Lucilla, and this is a comedy fic in the Naruto universe where basically Naruto misunderstands something and starts to think that the third Hokage was actually his father, and that just leads to misunderstanding after misunderstanding. And it was actually, before the author stopped writing and stopped, it was actually spinning up to be a huge clusterfuck that would have done a whole bunch of shit. And it's weird because it's the premise and the actual heavily comedic bits are more in the first 2 chapters, and the second 2 is actually more spinning up all the unintended consequences and building up a big boiling pot of, oh god, bad situation that was gonna hit Konoha like an avalanche, which, even though the payoff is not there, the jokes and the build up are really funny, and I really did enjoy this a lot. And I enjoyed it even though I knew that like nothing would come out of the thing. So like if the comedy fic like can still be enjoyed even without the biggest payoff, but like all the other stuff is still there, I think it's still a good one, and it's gonna stay on my list. So second to last for this one, we have The Gender Bending of Haruhi Suzumiya by Mekma Zing. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. This is a Haruhi Suzumiya story where basically Hyun says something, and the next day Haruhi swaps the genders of everybody under like 25, and Kyun Ko now is like panicking as she tries to fix it and deal with her emotions. Um, so the story is not complete, and basically this story is basically just one joke of Kyun has emotions as a girl, and so is like can like is constantly like overreacting or like blushing because like just getting nervous and girly, and that's it. Like it's okay, but like I think I'm just spoiled by Rack and Durandal's Haruhi fix. Like I just find that kind of Kyon and like that those Haruhi fix to be so much better. And so this style like dumb Haruhi, like this kind of dumb fic, it just didn't work for me. And it just didn't work for me. I thought it was okay, but like it just felt too one note and too because it's not even that over the top in the reaction, or that it's like the I think it might have been more interesting if the joke went farther or more over the top. Then it would have actually been more funny. But it's like it's always just like, oh, there's a cute guy. Oh, why am I thinking it's cute? It's that. But like it's also just like this is basically that's the end of the reaction. It's not the or like nosebleed or anything. It's just kind of too mundane and like to really be truly interesting. I just found myself bored. So it's not gonna stay on my list. So last one for this video is Minimum Requirement, once again by Lucilla, and this is again another Naruto comedy fic. This one where basically because there's super low requirements for somebody to join the ninja academy, Naruto gets enrolled as a toddler, and again, just people have to deal with it. um, this is not a like super laugh out loud funny type of comedy. It's more of a slow burn with characters just having and like acting in objectively kind of ridiculous ways that are taken or considered perfectly like normal in the context of the story, but we can see that it's kind of ridiculous what's going on. And the focus is not really on Naruto himself, but more his classmates and the adults in his life dealing with the fact that this situation has happened. On the reread, I wasn't really getting invested back in the story until the final few chapters before it stopped. But this is another story that has a pretty comfortable atmosphere. And like I really, once I got into it, I really was enjoying it a lot. And it really is like just like, God, this is so stupid. What is happening? Like, why is it happening? And why are you people doing this? Is so dumb. But like, you just go with it and like seeing the stuff. And I just would happily revisit again, even though I wish there was more of it. So it's gonna stay on my list. So there we have it for this video. Fan fiction status time with another 7 stories read. I've now read 907 stories on my journey, and 426 of them have stayed on my list. So thank you once again for watching this video. If you stay in, please, as always, I leave links to the stories, to the thread where I post this, and like my fanfiction.net profile. All these things are in the description, so you can always read these and decide for yourself. If you wanna get notified when next time I post these, or like get these, like please leave a like or subscribe to the channel. But otherwise, thank you for even giving this a look, and I will see you all next time. Take care.